Thank you for the invitation.
All right, so right now, the cost of conducting the 2023 general elections is pegged at 305 billion naira. Now, should we be concerned about this?
Yeah, we should be concerned looking at where we're coming from and the state of our electoral democracy and the state of the economy. We had actually projected that the 2023 might cost about 250 billion, going back to the cost from the last election, about 189 billion, and knowing that INEC is going to, based on the new electoral act, INEC would definitely need some sort of systems to be able to implement the election. That is, when you are deploying technology, you will need some technological device to do that. Yeah, but then if you put that also side by side with the kind of outcome you get from this election, sometimes it is always worrying that one might tend to be thinking that it's just throwing sometimes resources down the drain, especially when you look at the participation from this election. 189 was spent on the 2019 election. Participation was under 35%. And then now going into this election also already, there are worrying signs that we could also have those issues. Now with what we are currently seeing from the political parties to stifle participation, and also on the part of INEC. INEC made a pronouncement last week about the quality of the voter registration, and also about 45% of the 2.5 that were registered between June and December of last year that were invalid. So those were worrying signs for us that if some of these things are not addressed, we might go into the 2023 election and begin to reflect back and say, wait a minute, what did we do with the 305 billion? But the thing about that is there are some of those equipment that if INEC buys can be used for other elections. For instance, we're beginning to see these devices, bimodal voter accreditation system, and then the iVet that INEC is also using for the voter registration. We're hoping that these are things that can be used over time and can even be used for future elections. Then maybe, hopefully, the next round of election might not be as expensive as this election, but this is Nigeria. Inflation is constantly going up, constantly.
Well, I guess you and we all saw the NWC pronounce, the cost of nomination forms for the presidential ticket at 100 million naira. What will be your reaction to this?
Well, when I first saw this, it was laughable, but sorrowing as well. Laughable because that this is even coming from the APC government. And then looking at the trajectory of this from the 2015, 2019, from 27 million to 45 million, and then now 100 million, that even the government now is what they're clearly telling Nigeria is that cost of things are going up and they have to meet up with the current realities. But then also, not also taking into account the socio-economic realities that are also prevailing in the country. But most importantly also, for 100 million, all they are trying to do is just to make the government a highest bidder government, and then make the government a government of the elite. It is sad that we might just see power will continue to rotate around the same cycle, around people that can afford this, because over time they have been able to siphon resources that they can use to do this. Because, to be honest, what is the take-home of an average politician? Even for the president, what is the annual take-home of the president? How many years will the president need to work before he or she affords the cost of nomination form, as it were, by the APC and even by the PDP? And this is where also you need to we start to ask questions even of the Revenue and Mobilization Commission, for instance. How much is that take home that they will be paying this? This is also a slap on the face of the ordinary Nigerian, because all they are saying is that only a few, as far as I'm concerned, only a few, an incompetent few that are able to grab some of our own common resources will be able to afford what these two major parties are now telling Nigerians. It is sad that this is happening now.
All right. Now, some CSOs, have actually decried the use of money in prosecuting elections in Nigeria. Are there other ways, or are there any other options?
There are a lot of options. A lot of options. We have seen other elections or even other people participate in elections almost for free. A case in point is a young parliamentarian in Kenya that participated almost on zero kobo. All he did was to go around and share his manifesto with people, tell people what he will do to them when he gets elected. He came to Nigeria here when we had the conference, a convergence for after the Not Too Young to Run campaign that brought young people together to discuss strategies of engaging the process. Now, even from the political parties, I understand the challenge with the election is that elections time are always tagged as harvest time. Everybody will feel that is my moment to cash in or cash out, and so that's why we're seeing this. Political parties need to begin to think about internal democracies, like we keep saying, and then also how they can genuinely generate resources, generate funds without necessarily recourse to these obnoxious or arbitrary increases that we're seeing in the cost of nomination forms. I sincerely feel there are other ways to go about this, because this is just one in the many expenses that will come from now moving on. Because when you think about the delegate system that we use for the indirect primaries, and also what we keep hearing about these political parties buying off, or these aspirants buying off delegates, for instance. Somebody had to think about funding that process. And then you go to the main campaign as well. Think about adverts that have to happen. Think about also how they are so bastardized the campaign that all they think is to be giving handouts to people. So you think about all those handouts that will also happen in the course of the campaign. So it's a lot. It's humongous. That by the time they go through this to the election proper, that's why most times they go to the election, they are done with the election. People will begin to talk about not seeing the dividends of democracy, because they have to recoup whatever is their expenses from this campaign before they think about what they give back to the people. So it's sad that we are rotating continuously in this cycle.
You know, I still want to go back, you know, to the price of the nomination form. The APC have justified that 100 million naira price tag, you know, saying that Nigerians make legitimate money despite current economy, which means we'll still find a way, you know, to actually pay that amount.
Which of the Nigerians? How many? I think there was some study recently that 95 or thereabout % of Nigerians don't have up to 500,000 naira in their account. Is it the 1% of Nigerians that we're talking about here, or the vast majority of Nigerians? If you want to talk about election, you want to say election reflects 3 critical elements. The element of inclusion. Every person should have the chance of participating in the electoral process. Element of transparency, element of accountability. If these processes are not reflective in the electoral process, then you cannot begin to justify the election to say it's a free and fair process. Now, how many young persons, to be honest, can afford 100 million as we speak? And if you are saying, if we are saying Nigerians don't also want to show up because they have these resources, what means has the government provided to Nigerians to legitimately raise these resources since we had the APC government in power in the last 7 years? Most of us, for a few of us that work, you know the number of dependent relatives you have to cater for every day. Will that even allow you to save enough to think about contesting for political position? Let's be very honest with ourselves. How many Nigerians, what is the percentage of young people in Nigeria that can comfortably cough out 100 million and not feel the pinch of that?
Okay, now, earlier you actually talked about, you know, using some of these resources, that's the 305 billion naira to, you know, to help out in the elections and all that. But does allocating these resources guarantee a fair and credible elections?
Well, I think it is relative in the sense there are a lot of things you need to look at also when you talk about, when you begin, the lens to look at election credibility and integrity. INEC as an institution is one. You also want to see the credibility of the institution that is conducting the electoral process, but most importantly, also element as like citizens' participation and other stakeholders that are involved in the process. Political party is one. In the last election in 2019, 72 million Nigerians collected their PVCs, but then only 34 or 35% of Nigerians participated in the election. Oftentimes what we hear is the challenge is that people will tell you we are not happy with the options that the political parties are presenting. And so that is why you see the interconnectedness between the political parties, the citizens, and also the Electoral Commission. What happened in the last election was mainly the problem of electoral planning. And we hear going into the election that the resources for the election, part of the resources was released, I think, in that July or August of 2018. The other part was released just about 3 weeks to the 2019 election. That was the election that had over 91 or thereabout candidates that contested the presidential tickets, and also other positions that were contested in that election. So planning was a problem. Logistics was a nightmare that INEC had to postpone the election by 1 week. Now, there are signs now that if INEC will implement the correct electoral calendar, electoral plan, the 2023 might be better than what we saw in 2019. For instance, you got a new electoral act now that was signed recently by the president into law that now mandates INEC to start electoral planning 360 days to the election, meaning the timeline for the election will have been released some 360 days to the election. If you recall, before now, INEC had planned to have the elections in the second week of February, the presidential, and now they had moved it to the 25th because that reflects when the bill was signed by the president, and so they need 360 days to plan for the election. And then one of the provisions of the new bill is that the resources for the election must be released to INEC at least 360 days to the election. I mentioned 3 elements we want to see: elements of accountability and transparency. Now, nobody had come up to tell Nigerians whether part or even those resources for the election have been provided to INEC. But all we know is that based on the electoral timetable, INEC is currently rolling out, INEC is planning for the election already. As we speak, we are in the months where the political parties are supposed to all start their party primaries. It will go on until the 3rd of June, or 3rd or 4th of June, they say, which is based on the current electoral calendar. And after that, we go into the other planning. Political parties are supposed to have concluded all the processes leading to the emergence of their candidate and submit details to INEC by the end of at least 180 days to the next election, meaning by the end of June, we should be concluding everything about party and candidate nomination. In the past, it has always been a challenge that when INEC is planning to go and start producing ballot papers, you hear candidates or parties going to the court to seek injunction to stop this, to add that, and all of that, which causes a clog in the wheel of electoral planning, which causes a delay in planning for the election. So we are hoping that with all of these things we have seen from the current electoral act, if they are fully implemented by INEC, the next cycle of election will be better. One of the things we have seen from the past election is the way electoral officers are also colluding with bad elements, bad politicians to manipulate the process. Now, things like overvoting, for instance. Overvoting will be defined by the number of people that are accredited, not number of people on the register. We have seen that abuse in the past, where we know, for instance, that in fact, even for the 2019, we went into the election with the notion that we have 84 million Nigerians. But in all honesty, 72 million were the ones expected to have participated in the election. And then if you have places where you have 100% return, you begin to question what is the outcome of that election, because in the first place, you didn't even have everybody in that polling that had their PVC. So how come they all come out to vote? We have seen that case in the 2011-2015 election, for instance. So what I'm saying, in effect, is that with this new provision, you got a new definition for overvoting, which is based on the number of accredited voters, which is in itself will inspire confidence in citizens. You also have this idea of electoral officers complaining that they were forced to sign electoral results under duress. A case in point is Imo in 2019, when one of the officers was said almost at gunpoint, he was forced to release the electoral results. Now, INEC can review those sort of results. The law empowers INEC to do that. So with all of these things, I'm very confident that if INEC implements what is in the current guideline, the elections will be better. But then the big task ahead is how we can mobilize or encourage citizens to participate so that we can move away from the idea of staying fixed on the 33 or 35% average of voter turnout in every elections.
Okay. Now let's have the APC women leader, Princess Zara Mustafa, join the conversation, but this will be quickly after this break.
Wednesday's NEC meeting of the ruling All Progressives Congress pegged the cost of its nomination and expression of interest forms for a candidate vying for the presidency at 100 million naira, 50 million naira for governorship, 20 million naira for the Senate, and 10 million naira per House of Reps. This has generated negative reactions across the country. Indeed, some aspirants describe the action as empowering the money bags to dominate the party electoral contests.
Some of them who have expressed interest were at the meeting yesterday and were a part of the decision to approve this very fee structure. So, I'm not sure that this is really, such a huge... And in any event, the party, has no statutory allocation to it. And yet the party is in the business of conducting not just the primaries, but also the elections. Exactly where, is the party expected to generate revenue? Is it really by just, going cap in hand begging for money, from those who have political appointments? Or where? So I think we need to be all reasonable. Party business is an expensive business.
The party also took other decisions such as transfer of powers to the National Working Committee, NWC, amongst others. National Publicity Secretary of the party, Felix Muka, says contrary to media reports, the party is yet to take decision on mode of primaries and zoning.
The presence of that item on our schedule is not in any way a decision that is the mode. The mode of primaries to be used by this party will be decided by the appropriate authority. The zoning arrangement is the same thing. We have not made any decision on zoning, and if and when the party decides to make that decision, we will make it and we will, communicate that outcome to you and the members of the public.
But there have been increasing concerns over the increasing commercialization of electoral contests in Nigeria's polity, with attendant consequences on inclusive participation and excessive monetization of the democratic process. Shapir Suleiman, Trust TV News, Abuja.
All right, welcome back. So we're still talking about a cost of nomination forms, and right now in the studio we have joining us APC Women Leader North Central, talking about Princess Zara Mustafa Audu. She joins us in the studio today. Good morning and welcome. And congratulations on your election as Women Leader, by the way.
Congratulations. Zonal Women Leader.
Zonal Women Leader.
In
North
the,
Central, right?
Yes, North
North
Central.
Central.
So we have 6 zones and we have 1 national woman leader. So I'm for the North Central.
Congratulations all the
Thank
same.
you very much.
All right, so now we're actually talking about, the cost of nomination form, and, it has actually brought a lot of reactions from Nigerians saying, the price is exorbitant. Do you think so?
I think it's for a good reason. We have a lot of people believe that politics is a means to an end now. So a lot of people, whether you're qualified or you're not qualified, you aspire. So this actually separates the serious from the unserious people. Also in the APC, it's good to know that it is free for women to run. So we're not trying to discourage people who are serious about serving or coming out to present themselves for leadership. We're just trying to make sure that we don't have time wasters, a lot of time wasters, because so many people express interest when truly you're not actually capable. To be honest with you, if you're not, yes, it sounds like a lot of money, 100 million naira for a nomination form, but then do not forget that a leader, for you to call yourself a leader, it means you have followers behind you, right? If people truly believe in you, they should contribute towards your nomination. I'll give you an example on our form. When you fill out a form to run for any position, even for my position, I had 90 members of the APC from my zone who put me forward to go for that position. So if, say for instance, our presidential aspirant who would also have to do something similar, it means that his followership will be huger, way more than my followership, right? So I think that we should get into the spirit of, if we believe in a leader, contribute towards their race. If 100 people each brought 1 million naira, it would make it cheaper. You do not expect, if you're truly a leader, I believe you would have people who are ready to contribute, people who are ready to support the cause, and people who are ready to join you on the journey, because it's not a journey for one. Being a president is not, that's why you hear people say, I'm standing on someone's mandate or the other person's mandate, because it's a collective. It's not a job for one person.
But 100 million naira, it sounds really huge. Does that give particularly the youth a chance? Do you have a chance?
It does. I'll tell you why. Again, it makes us it says us sit up and be more serious. Of course, you know my history. I was the chairperson of the Progressive Youth Movement, so I'm a strong believer in young people. Again, I need to be honest with you, our party is being fair to us as young people. Our youth leader, who we have right now, Dio Israel, has done a fantastic job at getting us a 50% reduction on the nomination form. So for young people, it will not be 100 million, but even as that, it separates the, like they say, what's it called, the shaft from the, we need to know that we are dealing with serious contenders. Let me tell you something, the APC is the largest, strongest party in Africa, not in Nigeria. And for that reason, we need to know if you're running on our platform, you're a serious contender. We're not saying that you should be a money bag. Our current president today did not buy his nomination form by himself. Contributions bought it. Now that's true leadership. When our President Muhammad Buhari came forward, market women were sending 200 naira recharge card, this and that. This is how we got money to run that campaign. So to be honest with you, for me, the way I look at it is, if you're a leader, put yourself forward, and if people truly support you, if people believe in your candidature, let them contribute towards your running for position. This is my take on that.
Okay. Let me forward this question to him. Now, the Nigerian youths who are actually capable and ready to serve actually was hit by this, amount of money, looking at the harsh economic realities. Do you think that it defeats the whole purpose of the Not Too Young to Run bill? Or act, sorry.
Before I even jump into that, I think for me it is very absurd that we should be assuming because we have followers should just be contributing to, not you, I'm just talking about, if that was the thinking of the APC as a party or any other party, I think it is wrong. I mean, some might be lucky, not everybody will be lucky. It's about opening up the political space and not closing this space. And then I sincerely feel 100 million for a form is a lot. Now, some people are using this for political vendetta. Some people are using it. You hear things like we want to separate the men from the boys. In fairness to the young people, APC has tried to have that. That is still also about 50 million thereabout. It's a lot of money. We should be honest with ourselves. Like I had mentioned earlier, this is just a step, one of the steps. After this, you go into the primaries. After the primaries, you go into the political campaigns before the election proper. Think about all of these resources that they will have to spend along the way before they go into the, before you think about governance. And that is why, like I said, we are challenged because some of these persons will go, the first thing is to see how they will recoup their money before they think about what they give back to the people that have elected them in. So we need to have that serious debate need to happen about this cause. There was a conversation before now about even pegging this and making it a matter of legislation, have that in our law that parties shouldn't go beyond this. But the argument before this current electoral amendment bill was signed was that you cannot dictate to the political parties. But I think the parties should be encouraging enough. I had mentioned before you come that if it is about how parties can get resources, we should not make it episodic that just when elections are about to happen, parties will be getting their resources from nomination forms. Think about other means. Parties can go into other businesses. Parties can also think about if the process of collection of dues from members, if that is where parties have solution, a problem, they can think of other workable solutions that can help the parties just to keep the party running. I know party administration is a lot. I know you need a lot of resources for that, but sincerely, I think this is an aberration that we'll be thinking that people will just support. One of the candidates yesterday, somebody just gave a check of 100 million for the candidate to get their form. How many people are willing to do that? You have young, honest Nigerians that will want to participate. How many people do they have that can vouch for them and do that for them? I'm sure, you didn't just...
Give me a chance, I'll respond because we're practicing politics day to day. Theory and practicality are two very different things. Several things you said, yes, you go into when you present yourself as a candidate, right? You need to get your money and get your nomination form, your expression of interest form, you need to go through the primaries. But the minute you become the candidate of the party, it becomes our responsibility as a party to get you across the line through the polls. So we raise funds for you, we come together, we do the campaign for you. So that part you've missed. So this is not the individual campaigning for themselves. Again, if you want, because now we're talking 100 million, you didn't touch any of the other tickets, so I'll focus on that. If you want to be a president, don't you think you should have a history that precedes that kind of position? Just my own take, my 2 cents, right? Don't you think there's a level of experience that you need to be a president? And on your journey, your political journey, I'm not saying you can't jump just simply from even in the business sector, you would have built people. Yes, for you to be able to attain that level, for you to see yourself as presidential potential, you should have a history of people that you've made, people that you've empowered along the line, whether it's in politics or in business, because you can switch. And I'll tell you something, it's not foreign to Nigeria. In America, it's all about crowdfunding. I lived in America for so many years. I lived in Potomac, which is like the heart of majority of politicians live there and go to DC for work because it's like a little village on the outskirts, right? Everybody does crowdfunding. The legislature do crowdfunding. You literally see them at your children's school come to you and tell you, look, I'm running. Your parents, how can you support me? Crowdfunding is the way to go. I've seen young people, me and you discussed this before, when one of the entertainers on TV, one of our music entertainers came up and said to Nigerians generally, I want to clear my car or something. And he raised over 200 and something odd million, right? So Nigerians should start believing in Nigerians. Women should start believing in themselves. Youth should start believing in themselves. Crowdfunding is a thing. If all of us individually here today pick one young candidate, I'm not even going to jump to the women yet because I'll get to that. Pick one young candidate and said, you know what? Out of all of you, you are the most serious one. Let all of us put 10,000 naira towards him. Just even the young people in Abuja. Talk less of the ones in Lagos. Talk less of the ones in Kano. Do you think we will not outnumber, outsmart, outbeat? We are not ready. We spend more. Let me give you another example. A young man says he's getting married. His bachelorette thing, that thing they do, right? The night. Do you know how much money young people come together to contribute for that thing? I've seen it. We've seen it. It's on because they live their lives vicariously through social media. So you can see how much money young people raise every day for the things that they believe is important to them. We need to start to take the politics of our country, our society more seriously. I think both of them are privy to how hard we fought to be where we are today. We are not handpicked. We are not ordained. We are not a governor's choice, a minister's choice. We simply worked hard to put ourselves in the party because we understood that the party is the bedrock, is the foundation. And if you notice something, majority of us that have come into our party this time around, it's different. We're a lot of young people. We're a lot of vibrant people. We're a lot of young, youth-friendly people. Even our chairman is youth-friendly. For him to give us that concession, it has never been given in the history of the APC. They will tell you, if you're serious, then show that you're capable.
I heard you, but
you know what I mean? So no, I'm just saying, we need to be realistic. There's politics of theory and there's politics of practicality. In Nigeria, I'm telling you, We see it all the time. People crowdfund to go on holiday. Come, let's put money together. We want to go and watch a football match. Why can't we put money together because we want to put in our own governors? Why can't we put money together because we want to put in our own ministers? Why can't, what's it called, presidents, House of Assembly members, House of Reps? Why can't we pick one or two? I challenge the young people in Nigeria today. Pick one, anyone, and I'll be the first to contribute to his campaign.
Okay.
And we all have to have that mind frame.
Now,
So
you are the APC women leader, not central.
Yes.
How much opportunity, do women have, at this point in time?
You won't believe it, but for the first time ever, in fact, I'll be honest with you, I am extremely proud of the woman leader that we have. She's also a very young, vibrant woman. I'm extremely proud of the zonal women leaders that we have. I'm extremely proud of our minister. We had a session yesterday with the Minister of Women Affairs and with the First Lady of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and we are as determined as ever to make sure that this time around within the APC, you will see, if we don't get the governorship slots for women, we will get the deputy. We have that on. Whatever it is, we're going to negotiate for so many commissioners. You will see how many, God willing, female ministers we're going to produce after 2023. You will see how many, God willing, female legislatures, House of Reps, House of Assembly, Senate. You can even see how invested the First Lady was in it. And we're not stopping. We're not going to take no for an answer. We are going to lobby. We are going to, in fact, one of the things I woke up on, we have all our different zones have different platforms, WhatsApp platforms. I have it state by state. I woke up and the first message I put out there is, I want to know all our female aspirants. We need all their information because that's the instruction that was given to us yesterday. We are going to lobby, we're going to work hard. We're not going to take no for an answer. If you tell us you're not going to give them governor, then you're going to give them deputy. If you're not going to give them deputy, you're going to give them, secretary of whatever to the state. Or we are going to fight for women. We are going to get appointment for women. And we're not even waiting for the election. Even now, there are going to be several vacancies because a lot of people will resign or step aside to run for one position or the other. We're going to make sure that those positions are filled by women. So we are very deliberate. We are a team that is very focused this time around, and I believe that you will see results. I think also, like they say, posterity judges us best. I came to you before and I spoke to you about the need for young people to get into the party. And I think you've seen that we have fought, we've worked, and we are in the party. Our voices are being heard. Now we're coming to you again, and we are telling you, as challenging as it sounds, we will have significant number of young people that will emerge in 2023. We will have significant number of women that will emerge in 2023 and before 2023 into these positions that some people will step out of. So I think we're being deliberate about it. We're not taking any chances. We're not taking it for granted. We know where we need to be. We have our, we have our goal in sight, and we're not looking left or right. And what we are doing is practical, not theory. It's one thing to sit on the sidelines and give us all the solutions to the problem. It's a different thing to step in the ring and
Mr.
try
Paul.
it out.
Mr. Paul, let me direct this at you. Now, INEC has said it has an eye, to monitor election spendings, come 2023. Do you think this will be done effectively?
I'm not speaking for INEC, but then, of course, I anticipate that will happen. The Electoral Act mandates INEC to observe all political party primaries and also ensure that the legitimate candidates that emerge from those primaries are the ones that are presented for the election. So we're hoping that INEC will do that, and then hoping also that we don't have parallel primaries happening, because we have seen that in the past, and then it becomes a problem at the end. Who will INEC identify or recognize as a candidate for the party? So I think INEC is ready. In our several engagements with INEC, they have shown their readiness to attend all of these party primaries as monitors for the primaries. So we are also hoping that some of the political parties will open their doors to us as observers to also observe and provide independent assessment of how the primaries are being conducted.
Okay, just to follow up to that question, to what extent do you think Nigeria is, able to pay for its elections?
Well, the APC spokesperson, a woman leader, and she told us we can crowdfund and pay off that. Sincerely, the system that works. We are coming from America, a system that works. And I like the example that she's coming up with. The musician you're talking about is Davido. Who are the people that let's be honest, who are the people that gave Davido money? Most of them are the elites. Most of them are the elites. We're talking about an ordinary Nigerian, a young person that is interested in contesting for government but doesn't have the wherewithal to do so. And then I'm here, she's telling me that APC is trying to justify the fact that you must have built your political capital over time. Building the political capital doesn't necessarily mean that you have the money or you have the resources to pull a political campaign. Let's be honest with ourselves. So what we are saying is, can we provide a level playing field for everybody? Let money not be the leveler. Let money not be the decider. Otherwise, you end up with people that are not ready for government, that only have the resources, have the money, but they don't have the wherewithal to know how to pilot the affairs of the country. That's what we are saying.
If you give me the permission, I would answer him. I'll give you an example, a very, very typical example. The just concluded convention in the APC. It wasn't the person who spent the most, the person who campaigned the most, the person who was loudest who won. It was the person who the party felt was best suited for the job. That's one. I'll give you another legitimate example. There was a second, this youth leader, Dio Israel, is, emerged. But there was another young person, another young man, who crowdfunded on Twitter. His nomination form was 5 million naira. He put it on Twitter in the morning. He had, again, like I said, you have to build your political structure. You can't appear from nowhere and present yourself, because who knows you? He came on Twitter. This is live. This can be checked. This can be verified. He came on Twitter in, say, the day, before, or the day the announcement was made about the price of the form. 2 days later, he had his 5 million naira.
Capital from somewhere. How many people are politics aside? How many people are on this platform to even ask for support for this, even on health grounds, and they don't get it?
Okay, let her land.
Can she land, Mr. Paul? Mr. Paul?
We know who Daniel Israel is. We know who all of these people are.
Mr.
Paul, let her land.
Let you finish your statements before I speak.
Okay, let's
You see,
listen.
The thing is, right, I'm just trying to give you legitimate examples. I'm not talking about Dada Israel. This is another young man called Shegun Dada. You may not even know him.
I know Shegun Dada.
He has built his politics, not because he has money in the bank, but because he has been around, he has built. And then let me explain something to you. Even from the private sector, from the business sector, you can cross over in. If you built something for yourself, but you cannot come from nowhere with no history, with nobody knowing you, with no background, and say you want to be the president of Nigeria. It doesn't make sense. And also, let me give you a very legitimate example. Do you believe President Muhammadu Buhari funded the 2014-2015 elections? Let me wake you up. He did not. We crowdfunded.
Buhari has been there for over 35 years.
We're saying the same thing. Build political structure before you run for president. Why don't you run for House of Assembly? That's one local government where maybe majority are your cousins and your aunties. You know how we are in the north, where so many people, you know what I mean? Why don't you start from House of Assembly?
How much was the cost of nomination for House of Assembly some 4 years ago?
Mr. Paul?
How much is it now?
Okay.
What we are saying is the government has not even provided that means for people to raise resources to do that. You talked about America. That's I'm picking on you on that, because that's a system that has been established over time.
Can we move forward? Now, let me forward this question to you, Zaira. Now, parties like the Zenith Labour Party is actually offering free nomination forms for youths, women, and people living with disability, and also crashed fees for others to actually encourage, popular participation. Shouldn't this be what leading parties like APC and the PDP, shouldn't this be what they're actually trying to do to, encourage participation?
I'll tell you the difference, right? The APC has structure. The APC has a system in place. The minute you become our candidate, the responsibility of ensuring that you win your elections falls back on the party, right? You're talking about the Zenith Labour Party, so ZLP. The ZLP, can give you a form because they don't have that structure yet. I'm not saying they can't get it sometime in the future, but they don't have it as of today. And I'll tell you something about small parties, which is quite dangerous, right? Again, right, without structure, you you cannot win any election because it's very expensive. What will end up happening is that the individual, in fact, let me tell you what it is. It's the same thing. It will cost you as much, if not more. Because you, as an individual now, if you take a form, say for instance, for presidency on ZLP, ZLP is telling you to build the political structure from the national all the way to the final polling units. You know what I mean? Meanwhile, APC has built this structure for you. So if you take the cost, even 100 million naira, you cannot build any structure with 100 million naira. So that's the difference. And the party, the ZLP, would depend on that presidential aspirant for everything. You know what I mean? I'm sitting here, I'm representing APC, which means typically I'm speaking for anybody who runs on our platform. So many of us are doing that. You know, before I came in here as spokesperson, ZLP will wait for you. Before anybody goes out, they will call you and say, Your Excellency, incoming president, please, we need... So at the end of the day, you will spend more than 100 million naira. That's the truth.
You giggled.
That's the reality of it. And after spending more than 100 million naira, the probability of you still emerging as the president is like 0.5%, almost non-existent.
Yeah, but we are all saying the same thing. But what Zara succeeded in telling us is that APC is party of the elitists. I started by telling us there that...
I don't agree, and I'm sorry, Mr. Paul. Mr. Paul, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I don't pick anything you say and put it, no. Coach yourself, answer your questions. What I'm telling you is that how a structure has been built, so it makes it cheaper. It's like there's something called, I don't know, as females know this, right? You know how you can share a cow? You know that cow sharing thing where you can get a cow and share it into 4 pieces, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't cost you less when you're doing it as... That's what APC provides for you. You run on a platform that means that how we are all sharing the cost of governance. You run on a smaller platform, you inherit everything. You have to buy the whole cow. Meanwhile, if you're running for, say, for instance, House of Reps, you can just be taking less than 1/10 of the cow and still be successful. But on this kind of platform, they will tell you to go and buy the cow.
Now, leader of the opposition party has actually come out to say that anyone who buys, the 100 million naira, presidential form should be arrested by the EFCC.
That's very interesting for them, right? That's very interesting. Maybe that's I don't know what that is, because that doesn't even sound logical. There's no response to something that irrational. Because are you telling me that as business people, as a politician, again, what you need to understand, like I said, a president has built a political history. First of all, again, we don't even expect that one individual is going to go and bring 100 million from his bank account. If you're a real leader, people will put that money forward because they will believe in you. How do you get nominated to be a president? You must have a number of people that sign that form that say, go and run on our behalf. If you're running on behalf of people, why should you go and bring 100 million by yourself? Are you being president for yourself? You are a leader. Again, sir, I don't believe you've run for any political office, so you don't really understand the concept of being a leader.
Okay.
I'll give you an example with the Progressive Youth Movement. Many things I had to do. I don't need to find the money. I just need to say we have to do it, and we will all come together. That is called leadership. Even now, I'll give you an example. We want to do something. No, once our leader says this is how we're going, I was part of the Senator Abdullah Adamu campaign team. He is the chairman today. We all, in our own little way, were doing what we needed to do. We didn't collect a dime from the chairman. That is called leadership. You know what I mean? You believe in somebody, so you're ready to invest in that person's dream because that person's dream translates to your dream. Do you understand what I mean? If nobody believes in you, nobody is willing to invest in your dream, you are not a leader and you are not qualified to run for the office of president.
Mr. Paul, let's get your response.
Zara has just called me a non-leader on a national TV
No,
because I am not
I don't think she means that.
Because I'm not a political leader, but I also walk around the emergence of these political leaders.
No, I don't think she means it that way.
I don't mean you.
You could just respond
anybody who, sorry, let me correct that. Not you, Mr. Paul, but
you said
anybody.
That.
Let Mr. Paul respond to this.
Mr. Paul should not be taken badly. Anybody who doesn't have a followership who is ready to invest in their dream cannot be called a leader. Anybody who wants to run for president and your obstacle today in Nigeria, because you have to face the reality, there's inflation, there's been so many things, there's been COVID. The world is not the same. There's been, ever since, there's even right now, we're going through the Ukraine and Russia. So it's affecting everything. whatever, I know you said that how the cost of forms before is not, yes, because the reality of it is that the world that we live in today is not the world we lived in 2014 or in 2019. These realities are there. These realities are not peculiar to Nigeria or to the APC. These are realities that, whether we like it or not, exist and must be taken into consideration.
So, Mr. Paul, let's have your final thoughts.
The realities we're talking about here is the fact that there has not been that enabling environment for people to even raise those sort of resources. That is why we're saying, could there be some sort of consideration, right? We have all said it on this platform. Getting the party nomination form is one, but running through the course of the campaign is also another one. It is not like, you have also rightly pointed out, it's not everybody that can believe in one individual and say they want to fund the entire campaign. And we're also in a country where we still don't have that option for independent candidates where you can think that somebody can just run on as independent and also see how they can push through to be emerge leaders. I'm just coming from an election in the Gambia that happened on the 9th or so of April, where we saw a lot of young people emerge also under the independent platform because they have a country constitution that recognizes that. And also, like she also rightly pointed out, people also that believe in them. I met a lot of these people that also didn't spend as much as anticipate that people will spend. I had mentioned on this platform that we knew a young man from Kenya. He came to Nigeria under our Not Too Young to Run campaign. He came here to share his experience. All he did was to be knocking from door to tell people about his manifesto and what he plans to do for them. He spent almost 0 kobo for his own campaign. We want to see our country also emerge through that process, that even when people don't have that resources there, they have people that will believe in them and see that they can support their own cause or their own campaign, or even when they don't have people that can support those cause or those campaign, the country is also providing the alternative for them to see how they can also emerge to also see how they can help in the development of the country.
Zara, can we have your final take?
Okay,
well?
my final take is, please, especially out for the women, because today I'm speaking on behalf of the women, please come out and contest. The APC is creating an enabling environment for you. Not only are we going to support you and hold your hand through the primaries, we're going to negotiate for you, so it's never going to be a complete loss. This is a time in history that you may not see again because we have the right setting and the right people in place. Secondly, if you want to contest on the platform of the APC, know and be rest assured that once you become our candidate, it is our job. It is our job to make sure that we run your campaign.
Thank you so much.